today's session, we are going to discuss the pharmacokinetic models. So this is the disclaimer for all the viewers. Let us see the course content. So in the last session, we have discussed the definition and introduction to pharmacokinetics. In the today's session, we are going to discuss the pharmacokinetic models related with the compartment models and physiological models. Non-compartment model we'll discuss later on. Let us move towards the learning objectives. So after learning this module, you will be able to enlist pharmacokinetic models. Which are the different pharmacokinetic models used to understand or used to calculate the various pharmacokinetic parameters. You will be able to understand concept of compartment modeling. You will be able to describe mammillary model and quaternary model, and you will be able to write advantages and disadvantages of various pharmacokinetic models along with their application. So these are the learning objectives which I have set for the today's session. Let us move towards the pharmacokinetic models. So the pharmacokinetic model, so here two terms are there. Well, first one is the pharmacokinetic and second one is the model. So there is a need to understand what is mean by the model. So model is a hypothesis using mathematical terms to describe quantitative relationship concisely. So what is mean by the model? Model, it is a hypothesis using mathematical terms. So here we are using certain mathematical terms to describe the quantitative relationship concisely. The predictive capability of a pharmacokinetic model lies in the proper selection and development of the mathematical functions called the parameters that governs a pharmacokinetic process. So what is the parameters? So the parameters, it is the predictive capability of a pharmacokinetic model lies in the proper selection and development of the mathematical functions that is called as the parameter and which governs the pharmacokinetic process. So in the practice, the pharmacokinetic parameters are determined experimentally from a set of drug concentrations collected over various times known as the data. So when we are giving the drug by the oral route of administration, we are collecting the blood samples and whatever the things which are raised related with the time and concentration, that is known as the data. So in the practice, the pharmacokinetic parameters are determined experimentally from a set of drug concentrations collected over various times known as the data. Already we have seen the plasma drug concentration versus time profile, and using that specific data, it is possible to calculate the various pharmacokinetic parameters. So these parameters are also called as the variables. So these are the variables. Say for example, time is one variable and concentration is the another variable. In the case of pharmaceutics, suppose that you are performing the experiment of dissolution studies, isn't it? So in the case of dissolution study, the percent dissolved and the time, these are the variables. So likewise, here in the pharmacokinetic studies, whatever the data is collected, that is the parameters, say the drug concentration and time, and these things are also called as the variables. There are two types of the variables are there. Very first one, that is known as the independent variable, and second one, that is known as the dependent variable. So the first variable, that is an independent variable, which are not affected by any other parameter. So whatever the variable is there, which is independent, for say for example, time, isn't it? In the case of dissolution studies, there is a time is one of the parameters. So that is the independent variable. The another variable that is known as the dependent variable, which changes as the independent variable change. For example, plasma drug concentration. So as the time is going to change, the dependent variable plasma concentration, it is going to change. So dependent variable which change as an independent variable change. For example, plasma drug concentration. So the mathematical models can be devised to simulate the rate processes of drug absorption, distribution, and elimination to describe and predict drug concentration in the body as a function of time. So whatever the mathematical models are there, these models can be devised to simulate the rate processes. Say for example, absorption, distribution, or elimination, excretion, metabolism, to describe and predict the drug concentration in the body as a function of time. Let us see the applications of pharmacokinetic models. I have listed here the so many applications of all these pharmacokinetic models. So very first application of the pharmacokinetic model is to predict plasma, tissue, or urine drug levels with any dosage regimen. So it is possible to predict the plasma, tissue, or urine drug concentration with any dosage regimen. That is the one of the application of the pharmacokinetic model. Then it is used to calculate the optimum dosage regimen for each patient individually. So it is possible to calculate the optimum dosage regimen for the each patient individually according to patient need, according to patient requirement. It is possible to calculate the optimum dosage regimen. That is the second application. The third application, that is to estimate the possible accumulation of drug and metabolites. As we are determining the plasma drug concentration, so it is possible to estimate the possible drug accumulation in the body along with their metabolites. It is possible to correlate the drug concentrations with a pharmacological or toxicological activity. So it is possible to get the good correlation between the drug concentration along with the pharmacological response or toxicological activity. So according to that, it is possible to maintain the PDC within that specific range so as to we can minimize the adverse effects or the side effects of the drug. Then to evaluate the differences in the rate and extent of availability between the formulation. For example, bioavailability studies or bioequivalence studies. There is a need to calculate the rate and extent of the absorption of a drug, isn't it? In order to evaluate the more than one product. Then to describe how changes in a physiology or a disease affect the ADME of the drug. There are so many physiological changes are there in the patients along with the various types of the diseases are there. And in these situations, the ADME of a drug, it is going to change. And the last application of the pharmacokinetic models is to explain the drug interactions. So these are the few applications of the pharmacokinetic models related with the predict, calculate, estimate, correlate, evaluate, describe, and explain. Let us move towards the methods for analysis of pharmacokinetic data. There are two approaches are there. Very first approach, that is known as the model approach. You can say it as a model dependent approach. And second approach, that is known as the model independent approach. In the case of model independent approach, generally we are using the area under curve, area under mean curve, and the mean residence time to understand or to calculate the various pharmacokinetic parameters. And in the case of model approach, it is furthermore divided into the compartment model, physiological model, and distributed parameter model in order to calculate the various pharmacokinetic parameters and understand the process of ADME of a drug in the body. So the compartment models are furthermore divided into the mammillary model and the quaternary model. Then the second one, that is a physiological model, is a furthermore divided into the perfusion rate limited and diffusion rate limited models. So here the compartment models are the empirical models, and these are based on the certain mathematical equations and all the exponentials. The physiological models, these are the real models and which considers the anatomy and physiology of the body. And the distributed parameter models, all these are the very complex models and which are used for the getting the idea about the pharmacokinetics of drug. So this is about these are the various methods for analysis of pharmacokinetic data. In the today's session, we are going to discuss only the model approach, that is the compartment model, physiological model, and distributed parameter model. So let us move towards the pharmacokinetic model approach. So before discussing the pharmacokinetic model approach, there is a need to understand what is meant by the pharmacokinetic model. So pharmacokinetic models provides the concise means of expressing mathematically or quantitatively the time course of a drug throughout the body and compute meaningful pharmacokinetic parameters, that is known as the pharmacokinetic models. So pharmacokinetic models have ability to provide the concise means of expressing mathematically or quantitatively the time course of drug throughout the body and compute meaningful pharmacokinetic parameters. There are three types of the pharmacokinetic models are there. Very first one, that is known as the compartment model, second one, that is a physiological model, and third one, that is known as the distributed parameter model. In the case of a compartment model, we are considering the body as a compartment. Say for example, one compartment, two compartment, three compartment, likewise. So let us move towards the compartment modeling approach or compartment model. So compartment model, it is a traditional and most commonly used model for determination of pharmacokinetic parameters. So this is the one of the model which is widely used for determination of various pharmacokinetic parameters for the drug. This model simply interpolate the experimental data, that is a C/T, plasma concentration versus time profile, and allow an empirical formula to estimate the drug concentration with time. It is possible to get the idea about half-life, then the rate constants, maybe the absorption or the elimination rate constant, then concentration of drug at a zero time, and so on. So what is mean by the compartments? So the compartments are the hypothetical in nature. Compartment models are based on certain assumptions. So whatever we are saying, the compartment, all these compartments are the hypothetical in nature. And the compartment modeling approach, it is dependent on the certain assumptions. So very first assumption, the body, it is represented as a series of compartments arranged either in a series or parallel, like a train or like a satellite to each other that communicate reversibly with each other. This is the first assumption. So the body is represented as a series of compartments arranged either in a series or parallel to each other that communicate reversibly with each other, so as to the drug it is going to be distributed from the compartment to compartment. Here, each compartment is not a real physiologic or anatomical region, but fictitious or virtual one, and considered as tissue or a group of tissues that have a similar drug distribution characteristics. For example, which depend on the blood flow or the affinity of the drug towards the specific tissue. So we are making the groups of the tissues or the organs depending on their distribution. Within each compartment, the drug is considered to be rapidly and uniformly distributed. So here we are assuming that the compartment is the well-stirred model. The rate of drug movement between the compartments, that is the entry and the exit, it is described by first order process. So here in the case of compartmental modeling, whatever the entry of drug and the exit of drug, it is considered or it is described by the first order process. So if we are considering it as a first order kinetics, the rate constants are used to represent the entry of drug and exit of drug from the compartment. Here we have using some rate constants for the entry, at what rate the drug it is going to be entered into the compartment and at what rate it is going to be exited from the compartment. So these are the certain assumptions on which the compartment models are proposed. There are two types of the compartment models are there. Very first one is a mammillary model, and second one that is known as the quaternary model. So let us move towards the mammillary model. So the mammillary model, it consists of one or more peripheral compartments connected to the central compartment in a manner similar to connection of satellite to the planet. Look at the figure. Say here 1, 2, 3. These three are the compartments, isn't it? So one number compartment, it is said to be the central compartment, and the drug it is going to be entered into the central compartment, and from same compartment it is going to be excreted. And whatever the compartment number 2 or compartment number 3, it is said to be the peripheral compartment, and the drug it is going to be distributed into the peripheral compartments like compartment number 2 or compartment number 3, and these are the various rate constants which are written. So here the K0 to 1 it is for entry, then K1 to 0 for exit, then K1 to 3 entry of drug into the third compartment, then K3 to 1, that is again there is a back diffusion of a drug into the central compartment, and likewise. So the mammillary model, it consists of one or more peripheral compartments connected to the central compartment in a manner similar to connection of satellite to the planet. So they are joined parallel to the central compartment. So as we have discussed, the central compartment, that is one, comprises of a plasma, that is systemic circulation, and highly perfused tissues like a lung, liver, kidney, which equilibrate rapidly with the drug, and drug is directly absorbed into this compartment. So whatever the central compartment is there, it comprises the highly perfused tissue along with the systemic circulation, and drug it is going to be absorbed into the central compartment, and from same compartment the drug it is going to be eliminated. The peripheral compartments or the tissue compartments, it is denoted as 2 and 3, and are those with a low vascularity or a poor perfusion, say for example fats or the adipose tissue and so on. The distribution of drug to the peripheral compartment, it is through the blood, that is from the central compartment. So here the movement of drug between the compartment, it is defined by characteristic first order rate constant, and which is denoted by the letter K. So here you can see once again in the figure. So this is a central compartment, compartment number 1, and this is the one compartment open model intravenous bolus administration. So we are putting directly drug into the systemic circulation, and only there is a one rate constant. It is for the excretion or the elimination of the drug. The subscript here in the second model or the third model or fourth model indicates that the direction of drug movement, say for example K1 to 2. So the drug, it is going to be moved from central compartment into the peripheral compartment number 2. Likewise, the K21, that is from compartment number 2 to compartment number 1. So depending on the compartments, furthermore, it is possible to classify the compartment model as the one compartment open model IV bolus, one compartment open model first order absorption, then two compartment open model IV injection, two compartment open model with a first order absorption, and so on. So this is about the mammillary model. So let us see the catenary model. So the catenary model, the compartments are joined to one another in a series like a compartment, say for example like a train. So here this is the central compartment, isn't it? And this is however not observable physiologically or anatomically, as various organs are directly linked to the blood compartment. Hence this model is not as such used, and generally we are using the mammillary model to estimate the various pharmacokinetic parameters. Let us move towards the advantages and the applications of the compartment modeling. So whatever the compartment modeling is there, it is a simple and a flexible approach, and that's why it is widely used. It gives visual representation of various rate processes. Already we have seen in the previous slide or on this slide also. So here we can observe the how many rate constants are there which are involved in the process, isn't it, for the drug disposition. It shows how many rate constants are necessary to describe these processes depending on the number of compartments. It enables to write differential equations for each of the rate process in order to describe drug concentration changes in each compartment. Already we have discussed the zero order and first order, and depending on the order of process, it is possible to write the various equations for the specific rate process. It enables the monitoring of drug concentration change with a time with a limited amount of data. Only plasma concentration data or urinary X-ray data, it is sufficient. So here the monitoring of drug concentration change with respect to time, it is possible with a limited amount of data. We require only the concentration data or the urinary excretion data. It is useful in predicting drug concentration time profile in both normal physiological and in the pathological condition. So it is possible to predict the concentration time profile in the normal physiological conditions as well as the pathological conditions. It is important in the development of the dosage regimen. So whatever the compartment modelings are there, they are helpful in the development of the dosage regimens. It is useful in relating plasma drug levels to therapeutic and toxic effects in the body. So it is possible to relate the plasma concentration of drug with the pharmacological response, that is a therapeutic effect, as well as with the toxic effects or the adverse effects of the drug. It is particularly useful when several therapeutic agents are compared. Clinically, drug data comparisons are based on the compartment models. Its simplicity allows easy tabulation of parameters such as VD and half-life and so on. So it is possible to tabulate so many pharmacokinetic parameters due to the simplicity of the compartment models. Let us move towards the disadvantages of the compartment modeling. As we have seen the advantages, let us see the disadvantages of compartment modeling. The compartments and the parameters bear no relationship with the physiological function, that is the main thing, and the anatomical structure of the species. And there are several assumptions already we have seen how to made to facilitate data interpretation. Extensive efforts are required in the development of exact model that predict and describes correctly the EDME of a certain drug. If we want to describe correctly the EDME, we have to supposed to take much more effort to develop the exact model for the specific drug. The model, it is based on the curve fitting. Already we have seen in the last session, that is a curve fitting related to the zero order and first order. So curve fitting is required over here, and there are complex multi-exponential mathematical equations are there. We have seen only the mono exponential related with the first order, but when we are developing the model, maybe it is there are the involvement of the more than one exponential, and the model becomes a complex. The model may vary within a study population, and the approach can be applied only to the specific drug under the study. The drug behavior within the body may fit different compartment models depending upon their route of administration. So here the route of administration is one of the parameter which is going to affect the compartment model approach. Then difficulties generally arise when using model to interpret the differences between the result from human and animal experiments. We're getting certain difficulties when we to interpret the differences between the results from the humans and animal experimentation. And the last disadvantage, that is compartment models are often misunderstood, overstretched, or even abused. So this is about the compartment models. Let us move towards the physiological models. So physiological models are real models. It is also known as the physiologically based pharmacokinetic models, that is the PBPK models. That is physiologically based pharmacokinetic models. It is also known as the PBPK models. They are drawn on the basis of known anatomic and physiological data. In the compartmental modeling, we have not considered the anatomical and physiological things while putting the model, and thus represents a more realistic picture of the drug disposition in various organs and the tissues. So here we are considering the anatomical features and the physiological features to develop the model. The number of compartments to be included in the model depends upon the disposition characteristics of the drug. How the drug it is going to be disposed, that is how it is going to be distributed, how it is going to be excreted from the body, that will decide the number of compartments included in the physiological models. The organ or tissues such as the bones that have no drug penetration and such organs or the tissues are excluded from the physiological model. Since describing each organ or tissue with a mathematical equation makes the model very complex. So here, as there are involvement of the compartments, and we are using again rate constants and so on along with the blood flow, so whatever the mathematical equations are there, it becomes a complex, and tissues with a similar perfusion properties are grouped into a single compartment. For example, highly perfused tissue and poorly perfused tissue. Highly perfused tissue like a lung, liver, brain, kidney, they are grouped as one, and poorly perfused tissues like muscles and adipose tissues, which are grouped as a one. So here, this is the representation of the physiological pharmacokinetic model. So this is the, here we have given the, say for example, intravenous dose. So this is a venous blood. Here it's arterial blood, and these are the various compartments along with their blood flow. So here it's the lung, heart, then the gut, liver. So from the liver, the drug, it is going to be metabolized. Then from kidney, it is going to be eliminated. So for the liver, the rate constant, that is a Km. For kidney, it's a Ke. Then the highly perfused tissues and the poorly perfused tissues with a blood flow, QHPT and QLPT. So in this way, it is possible to represent the physiological pharmacokinetic model. Since the rate of drug carried to tissue organ or tissue drug uptake are dependent on the two major factors, how the drug it is going to be taken up by the various tissues or the organs, it is depend on the various parameters. Already we have discussed under the distribution, that is the rate of blood flow to the organ, at what rate the blood it is going to be flowed towards the organ, and the permeability of drug, that is a tissue blood partition coefficient or diffusion coefficient of drug that governs the tissue permeability. So these two are the important parameters which needs to be considered while putting the physiological models. So depending on that, there are two types of the physiological models are there. Very first model, that is known as a blood flow rate limited model, that is a perfusion rate limited model. And second one, that is a membrane permeation rate limited model, or it is also known as a permeability rate limited model. So let us see first the blood flow rate limited model. So these models are commonly used and are based on assumption that the drug movement within the body region is a much more rapid than its rate of delivery to the region by perfusing blood. So here, the things which are depend on the perfusion, these models are therefore called as a perfusion rate limited model. This assumption is, however, applicable only to highly membrane permeable drugs. For example, the drugs which are having the physiochemical properties like low molecular weight, then the drugs which are poorly ionized, that is only unionized fraction, it is available in a higher percentage, and highly lipophilic drug. For example, thiopental or the lidocaine. So this is about blood flow rate limited model. And membrane permeation rate limited model, these models are very complex and applicable to highly polar, ionized and the charged drugs, in which the cell membrane acts as a barrier for the drug that gradually permeates by the diffusion, and that's why it is said to be the permeation rate limited model. These models are therefore known as the diffusion limited model due to the physicochemical properties of drug, that is the high polarity, high percentage of ionized fraction, and the charged drug. Owing to time lag in the equilibrium between the blood and tissue, as it is a permeability rate limited or diffusion rate limited, the equation for these models are very complicated or the complex. This is about the membrane permeation rate limited model. Let us see the advantages of the physiological models. So here, in the case of physiological models, the mathematical treatment is straightforward. Since it is a realistic approach, the model is suitable where the tissue drug concentration and binding are known. The data feeding is not required, since the drug concentration in various body tissue regions can be predicted on the basis of organ or a tissue size, then perfusion rate, and experimentally determined tissue to plasma partition coefficient. The model gives exact description of drug concentration time profile in any organ or tissue, and thus better picture of drug distribution characteristics in the body. The influence of altered physiology or pathology on the disposition can be easily predicted from changes in the various pharmacokinetic parameters, since the parameter corresponds to the actual physiological and anatomic measures. The physiological methods or models, it is frequently used in animals because of invasive methods can be used to collect the tissue samples. Without tissue samples, it is not possible to develop the physiological models. The correlation of data in several animal species is possible with some drugs can be extrapolated to humans, and since tissue concentration of drug is known. The mechanism of ADME of drug can be easily explained by this model. So these are the some advantages of the physiological models. Let us see what are the different disadvantages of the physiological models. As here, the process is very exhaustive because huge experimental data needs to be collected and so many processes are there. Most physiological models assumes an average blood flow for individual subject, hence prediction of individualized dosing is difficult. As here we are assuming that the average blood flow towards the organ and predictions related with the individualized dosing, it is difficult. Then the number of data points here, it is less than the pharmacokinetic parameters to be accessed, and the monitoring of drug concentration in body is difficult since exhaustive data it is required. So these are the some of the disadvantages of the physiological model. Let us see the comparison between the compartment model and the physiological model. Just now we have seen the details related with the compartment modeling and the physiological model. So what is the actual difference between the compartment modeling and the physiological model? The very first difference, that is a compartment model, it is a hypothetical or empirical approach. There is no as such correlation between the real physiology and anatomy. In the case of physiological modeling, there is a realistic approach since it is based on physiological and anatomical information. In the case of compartmental modeling, experimentally, it is a simple and flexible approach as far as data collection is concerned. It is very simple to collect the data. It is very simple to run the experiment. In the case of physiological modeling, it is very difficult experimentally since exhaustive data collection is required. Owing to its simplicity, in the case of compartmental modeling, it is widely used and it is often the first model, and physiological model, it is less commonly used due to their complexity. As here in the case of compartment modeling, complex multi-exponential mathematical treatment is necessary for curve fitting. Here in the case of physiological modeling, whatever the mathematical treatment is there, which is a straightforward. In the case of compartment modeling, data fitting is required for predicting the drug concentration in a particular compartment. That is a linearization of data. In the case of physiological modeling, data fitting is not necessary since drug concentration in various tissues is practically determined by separating the tissues. In the case of compartment modeling, it is used when there is a little information about the tissue. The physiological modelings were used tissue drug concentration and when binding are known. In the case of compartment modeling, it is easy to monitor time course of a drug in the body with the limited data. In the case of physiological modeling, exhaustive data is required to monitor time course of a drug in the body. In the case of compartmental modeling, extrapolation from data to humans and vice versa is not possible. And in the case of physiological modeling, extrapolation of animal data to human, it is very easy on the basis of tissue concentration of the drug. In the case of compartmental modeling, mechanism of drug ADME cannot be explained, but in the case of physiological modeling, it is possible to explain the mechanism for the ADME. In the case of compartmental modeling, effect of pathological conditions on drug ADME cannot be determined as such. In the case of physiological modeling, effect of pathology on drug ADME can be easily determined. And the last differentiating point, that is compartment modeling, it is frequently used for data comparison of various drugs, and physiological modeling less commonly used for the data comparison. So these are the some differentiating point between the compartment modeling and the physiological modeling. Let us see the distributed parameter model. So the distributed parameter model, it is analogous to physiological model, but has been designed to take into account the variations in the blood flow of an organ. In the case of physiological model, we have not considered as such variation in the blood flow, isn't it? And variation in a drug diffusion in an organ, which is considered in the distributed parameter model. And such a model is thus specifically useful for accessing regional differences in the drug concentrations in the tumors and necrotic tissue. The distributed parameter model differs from physiological models is that mathematical equations are more complex and the collection of drug concentration data is more difficult than the physiological based model. So this is about the distributed parameter model. So herewith we have finished the pharmacokinetic models. We have discussed the various pharmacokinetic models, that is compartment models, physiological models, and distributed parameters model. In the compartment model, we have discussed the mammillary model and the quaternary model. And in the case of physiological based models, we have discussed the perfusion rate limited model and the permeability rate limited model. So this is about the pharmacokinetic model. The non-compartmental analysis model, it is remaining, and will cover the non-compartmental model in the next session or in the coming sessions. So these are the references which I have referred for the today's presentation. More precisely, the Biopharmaceutics and Pharmacokinetics by Brahmankar et Jaiswal, and second one, Applied Biopharmaceutics and Pharmacokinetics by Leon Shargil. Thank you very much.